Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope you're doing well. This is part 2 of my entire perfume collection. I'll link part 1 down below and here on the screen so you can watch it if you haven't already. I also shared my thoughts on perfume collecting in that video. In this video, I'll go through the second part of my collection, which is about 30 fragrances I want to say. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Moving on, we've got Timeless from Avon. This was released in 1974 and it's a classic chypre floral scent. It's called Timeless for a reason. This is a timeless classic and it leans a bit more Oriental than chypre to my nose. It opens very citrusy, aldehydic, almost earthy and mossy to my nose. The base is ambery and balsamic. The patchouli is also prominent on my skin. Timeless was kindly gifted to me by my fragrance friend and friend, Leah. She also gifted me the next fragrance, Chantilly from Dana, originally released by Houbigant in 1941, and it's an Oriental. It reminds me of Shalimar, but a softer, sweeter, and more powdery version of Shalimar. It's very comforting, powdery, delicate, surprisingly soft and comforting for a vintage fragrance. So I really love to use this one as a casual scent because it's sweet, soft, and comforting. It's a moderate performer though. Next up, we've got Rare Gold from Avon. This is from the 90s. This is a 90s floral. And, you know, this is comparable to powerhouses like Givenchy Amarige, Givenchy Organza, Lancôme Poème, but it's a bit more rough around the edges, if you know what I mean. It smells very nice, but it's not as elegant and as sophisticated as Poème and Amarige. So I hope that makes sense. Moving on, we've got a classic musk fragrance. This is Jovan Musk. This is not the original. This is the musk oil version, which to me smells identical to the original cologne from the 70s. And this is a soapy, clean-smelling musk. It's a simple, vintage-style, comforting musk fragrance. Some people find it animalic. I don't. To me, it's just a clean, soapy musk. I like it. If you're looking for a musk, for a vintage-style musk, check this one out. Next up, I've got This Is Love from Zadig & Voltaire. And this is a men's fragrance, although a very sweet one. And it's a floral sandalwood. It's got orange blossom and sandalwood. And that sandalwood is a synthetic sandalwood. So this one can be a bit synthetic smelling sometimes. I don't always reach for it, I'll be honest with you. But it's a nice fragrance. I'll probably just use it up and move on. I won't buy it again. Next up, we've got another masculine scent. This is the original, the classic Old Spice. This, unfortunately, is not the cologne, but this is the aftershave, which smells just like the classic cologne. I really like the classic Old Spice. Sometimes I just put it on my wrist just to smell it. I don't really wear it as a fragrance, but I absolutely love smelling it. Moving on, we've got Lolita Lempicka Le Parfum. This is the new reincarnation of the classic Lolita Lempicka from the 90s. And this is a beautiful, sweet, powdery fragrance. It's got some cherry in the opening, but it's got licorice and some violet. And it's just one of those 90s fragrances that I always have to have in my collection. I decided to get this travel spray because I wasn't sure about the performance of the new version, but it performs just fine on me. So when I finish this, I'll definitely pick up a full bottle of Lolita Lempicka Le Parfum, the new version. Next up, we've got Jill Sander Sun, which is a powdery white and yellow floral vanilla scent from the 80s. It's very creamy. I can smell the ylang-ylang, the vanilla, the benzoin. It smells exactly like an old school suntan lotion. It's quite heavy for a summer fragrance. And it also reminds me of Lulu from Cacharel. They're both what I call plasticky, doll head vanillas. Because so many of these vintage vanilla fragrances have that doll head smell to them. And I'm someone who enjoys that, but I know that lots of people don't. So just keep that in mind if you're interested in Jill Sander Sun. Next up, we've got Anaïs Anaïs from Cacharel. This is from the 70s and it's a classic, soapy, powdery floral with some incense and oak moss in the base. It's very strong, very pungent, very soapy, not for everyone, very polarizing. I personally really love it, but it's definitely not for everyone because it's green, it's quite bitter and austere. It has a smidgen of sweetness, but it's definitely not a sweet floral. This is a green, soapy floral with an incensey base. So not for everyone, but I absolutely enjoy it. Speaking of chypres, we've got another classic chypre, Cabochard from the House of Grès, which is a classic chypre from the 60s actually, if I'm not mistaken. This is a very strong, green, leathery tobacco chypre. It's very pungent, not for everyone, not sweet at all. Slightly aldehydic in the opening, but it also has a strong mossy base. If you like a dry, bitter, green chypre that sometimes smells a bit like an ashtray, then Cabochard is for you. Next up, we've got another masculine fragrance. This is Luna Rossa Black from Prada, and this is an amber vanilla musky fragrance. It's quite sweet for a masculine fragrance, and it's even a bit unisex leaning, I would say. But that's exactly what makes it comforting and mass appealing. My brother also loves this one. Next up, we've got a classic freshie from the 90s, Green Tea by Elizabeth Arden. This is a green, citrusy tea fragrance. It's fresh, soft, aromatic, very green. And I'm not going to lie, I don't really use this one on myself. I usually just use it to refresh my bedding. I might even sell it, I don't know. I'm definitely not a freshy person. I like citrusy scents if they're blended with other notes. I don't really enjoy green, citrusy, overly fresh fragrances, ozonic fragrances on their own. I like some added sweetness, some vanilla, some amber, some florals. If you watch my channel, you know the drill. The next one is Samsara from Guerlain, and this is the Eau de Toilette, a small 30ml bottle of the old formulation. Unfortunately, I only have a couple of drops left, but I'm saving it because I like to remind myself how it smells every now and then. Samsara is a sandalwood fragrance, but it also has some florals. It's a classic from the 80s, very nice, woody, powdery, sophisticated, elegant. I really like it. This is the Eau de Toilette. To me, it smells exactly the same as the Eau de Parfum. I smell no difference. The next one is L'Interdit Rouge from the House of Givenchy. And this one also has about 2 to 3 milliliters left, and I also have a full decant of it. So technically, it's still part of my collection. This is a sweet and warm, spicy flanker of the original L'Interdit. I can still smell the original DNA, but it's very spicy. It has some pimento leaf, if I'm not mistaken, some ginger, as well as some pepper, and it really has, there's a spicy kick to it, and I really like it. I really enjoy it, but I don't think I'll purchase another bottle of it when this one runs out. Moving on, we've got a masculine fragrance from the House of Cuba. This is called Cuba Gold, I think. And this is actually the aftershave, but I just use it as a fragrance. And this fragrance is actually a nice aromatic vanilla fragrance. It has a masculine vibe, but it's actually quite sweet. And even though I really like it, I never reach for it. So this one might end up getting decluttered. The next one is a travel spray, but it's 15 milliliters, so it counts. This is Far Away from Avon, and this is a really nice 90s vanilla fragrance, but it doesn't work on my skin. This has a synthetic note that I can't stand. It smells great in the air, but on my skin, it's just unbearable. So I'll probably end up, keeping it because I can't really sell it. So I'll definitely keep trying it and maybe hoping for a miracle. Who knows? The next one is also a vanilla fragrance. This is Absolute Aphrodisiac from Initio. And I also have a decant of this one, but I also have 2 backup decants because I love it so much and I just wasn't ready to purchase a full bottle. This is an Animalic vanilla scent. It's very sweet, vanillic, cakey, almost creamy, but it has an animalic vibe. It has an animalic bite in the dry down, and I really, really like it. I think it's unique. Even though it smells like so many other vanilla fragrances on the market, it's still unique, and I'm using it sparingly. These decants are not the best, unfortunately, because they leak, but I absolutely adore the scent. The next fragrance is from Elizabeth Arden, and this is Green Tea Nectarine Blossom. And that's exactly what it is. It smells exactly like the original with an added note of nectarine or nectarine blossom. It's a bit more floral, a bit more fruity, a bit more citrusy, but it's still a green tea fragrance. It still has the original DNA of green tea from 1999, the original created by Francis Curtijan, which I also have in my collection. So the next fragrance is Giorgio Beverly Hills, from Giorgio Beverly Hills, obviously. This is an 80s fragrance, a very strong, opulent tuberose fragrance, but not really an oriental tuberose. This is more of a bright green, fresh tuberose, very sunny, very optimistic. I absolutely love it. This is a new addition to my collection. I bought it about a month ago and I really enjoy it. The next one is also a new addition to my collection, and it's Cacharel Noir, and I did a full review on my channel maybe about 2 weeks ago, so check it out if you wish to. Noir is a musky floral. It's powdery, it's clean, it's ethereal. I absolutely adore it. I think it's a must try for anyone who loves musky fragrances. It has a vintage vibe, but it's not quite as vintage smelling as, say, Jovan Musk, which I also have in my collection. The next one is Jean Paul Gaultier Classique. This one has been in my collection for a very long time. This bottle is new. I got it from a second-hand seller. It was a partial bottle. And I really, really like Classique. This is an orange blossom vanilla fragrance from the 90s. It's powdery, it's sweet, it's slightly spicy, but very vanillic and also a bit soapy. So I really like this one. And it also has a very warm, ambery dry down, which is just divine. I love Classique. This is an older formula. The juice has macerated. It's very dark. The vanilla is rich, warm, unlike the newer formulations, which tend to be a bit more soapy. The next fragrance is a classic. It has been in my collection since, the beginning of time. This was one of my first fragrances, one of my first designer fragrances, I want to say. And it's none other than Dior Addict. Dior Addict, this is a stunning vanilla fragrance from the 2000s. It's a classic. This is actually a new bottle. I repurchased it because I ran out of my previous bottle. I still absolutely love it. I have no complaints about the current formulation, but I will say that it needs a couple of months to macerate, to get richer, darker, stronger. So, I will definitely wear this one to let some air get into the bottle, and then I'll just leave it for a few months, and then I'll start wearing it in winter again, and it will be absolutely gorgeous. So that's Dior Addict from Dior, one of my absolute favorites. It has to be in my collection. I'm so glad I got another bottle. The next one is Vanille Tropicale from the house of Jean Art. And this is a very nice, sweet vanilla fragrance with a hint of coconut. It's very inexpensive. You can pick up a bottle for about 4 to 5 euros, I want to say. It's not a great performer, unfortunately, but the smell is nice. It doesn't smell that cheap. Well, it doesn't smell expensive either, but it's something that I will actually wear. The next fragrance is also from Jean Art, and this is Rose de Grasse. So the grass rose, I guess, a rose from grass. And this is a very nice, light, crisp, refreshing rose fragrance. It's very simple, very, I guess, photorealistic, but also a bit synthetic smelling. But I really like it. I don't think I'll wear it often, but it is staying in my collection because sometimes you just want, a straight up pure rose fragrance and nothing else. And I do love roses. I might actually do a video on rose perfumes in my collection. I don't have that many. Even though I love roses, I don't have that many rose fragrances. My holy grail rose fragrance used to be Paris from Yves Saint Laurent. I don't have it anymore because I used it up. I want another bottle. The next fragrance is called April Violets from the house of Yardley, which is a British house. They've been around for absolute ages. And April Violets is a nice vintage style violet fragrance. It's refreshing, it's powdery, it's bright, it's soft, delicate, powdery, and a bit synthetic smelling as well, I'm not going to lie. But it's a very fleeting fragrance. This only lasts about, I want to say, maybe 3 to 4 hours on my skin with absolutely no projection. But it's a nice fragrance. If you like violets, check this one out. Moving on, we've got Cabotine Eau de Toilette from the House of Grès. This is actually a very nice, sweet and creamy floral fragrance, and it was love at first sniff for me. I was afraid to get this one for the longest time because I don't really like overly green fragrances, and this one has a greenness to it, but it's more of a sweet floral to my nose. It's sweet, powdery, also slightly fruity, and it smells like an expensive designer fragrance like Lancôme Poème, and it really packs a punch, I have to say. So for the price, you get amazing quality, just in my opinion, of course. So if you're afraid of this one because it's green, don't be. It's not the Chanel number 19 kind of green. Chanel number 19 is a very green, bitter and astringent fragrance with no sweetness. Not my vibe, really. But this one has a floral sweetness, so the greenness isn't too sharp, and I happen to really like it, and I really have to do a full review on it. Moving on, I've got 3 more fragrances. I just wanted to show you my backup collection. So I've got a backup of Chanel Coco. This is a 100ml. I got it for a very good price, so, I had to have it. The next one is J'adore Lauder, the 2017 version. I also had to have this one because it's been discontinued and you can't find it anymore, unfortunately. And I also have a backup of Jean Paul Gaultier Classique, the Eau de Toilette, that I also really enjoy. I almost forgot to mention 2 more fragrances. I completely forgot I even had them because I put them in another drawer. So Lulu from Cacharel and the original Bijan for women. And I have to be honest with you, I haven't reached for these ones in months. And let me tell you why. The last time I wore Cacharel Lulu, I had a bit of a headache and I made the mistake of overspraying it. And to be honest with you, it made me kind of sick, so I haven't really worn it since. I will wear it again. I made the same mistake with Bijan. I wore it when I wasn't feeling my best. I had a temperature and a headache, and I decided to spray this one, and it completely overwhelmed my senses. It made me sick, and I haven't reached for it since. So there's a lesson to be learned here. Don't wear heavy fragrances when you're feeling sick. So we've come to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and leave me a comment down below before you leave. I'll see you in one of my next videos. Have a nice rest of the week. Bye.